coming out of Tokyo Dome week, we expected things to slow down. Instead, we got an excellent Battle in the Valley show that Jeremy Finestone attended in person. So we're going to hear all about that and go over that show match by match. We're also going to look ahead as we move toward new beginnings. And we're getting very good news about the feelings of the fans of New Japan Wrestling and their enthusiasm for the product. Strong ticket sales coming up for the new beginning in Osaka. Is New Japan headed in the right path like we're hoping? Kind of seems like it is. And that Battle in the Valley show did nothing to dissuade us from thinking that the good things are ahead. So we're feeling mostly in a good mood, even if Jeremy is a little bit under the weather. Well, we're going to get into Battle in the Valley, look ahead, talk about the hangover that comes from Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. There's always plenty of news. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Steven Conway, of course, like I mentioned. Jeremy Finestone is with us. And Jeremy, that Battle in the Valley show was so good, it made you sick.
Well, no, it didn't. It was an excellent time. It provided me probably with an all-timer memory at a wrestling show. A great wrestling top to bottom. But yeah, I'm a little under the weather. I went to that show on Saturday, went to the Raw on Monday down the street. Then I got my physical and I got a bunch of shots to get me from like the flu and all that. And then I think that's what actually put me down about 48 hours later. So I am riding something called NyQuil or Dayquil or whatever. And we're going to sally forth, like Army of Darkness, sally forth, and talk about some New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's go, Steven.
All right. And Colin is here. Hello. He says, have I recovered from my Japan adventure? Yes, I have. Thank you. Thank you for asking. It took a while. My sleep pattern didn't really get back on track until really a couple of days ago. I would have these things where I would be exhausted all day. I'd go to bed at 11 o'clock at night or so, and then be just bright wide awake at 4 a.m. and just cursing. It's like, doggone it. No, no, please no. And
at 4 a.m. It's my natural state, Steven.
Well, fair enough.
I understand is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And so and then I would be so wide awake. I would just be hopeless. So I would just get up and watch Stardom or something like that on the TV in the living room. And then, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be a zombie again and all that. But that's finally worked its way through. I think I'm back on my regular schedule. So, but feeling good. And I put up some of the stuff I got in Japan there and behind me. And so, it's one of those things where the Battle in the Valley show kind of snuck up on me just because I was recovering from that trip. And then I realized, Saturday, it's time for the San Jose show. And Sam is here from Power Bombshells. Hey, Sam, glad you're here. And we walked right into that and walked headlong into an excellent wrestling show. This was a heck of a program, considering it was only about a week after the biggest weekend of the year. A lot of fun. You were there. You were up in the balcony. And can you tell us a little bit about the buzz in the crowd as you got in there? Like, what was the experience like for you?
All right, so just a little bit of context. I worked the morning, and then I had to nap throughout the day. And then I met up with a couple of friends before the show and got a couple of burgers because I walked over and everyone did the parking. So I got there right at the very end of the pre-show tag match. And so I don't have a whole lot of visuals on that. But when I got there, it felt energetic. It felt like a good crowd. I think they ended up with about 1,800 out of 21 of a crowd with a pretty strong walk up at the end. About 300 or 400 people walked up at the end of the night from what I was told. The merch was popping. From being up where I was, I could see a very energetic ringside crowd. And I'm always in the back row of the bottom area, which is a really good place to be. These were the best seats in the house. Miguel Rubio, who listens and watches to the show, he picked up tickets for all of us. And outstanding job with the tickets, my friend. I wanted to shout him out for that.
Cool.
The show was long. Okay, let's get that out of the way. By the end of it, everyone in the crowd was burnt out and ready for it. And I feel kind of bad for Desperado and Taiji Ishimori, but there wasn't a bad match on the show, right?
No,
like everything on there. And frankly speaking, I'm bearing the lead, but that goddamn retirement was an all-timer moment. Like,
yeah,
I was not expecting any of it, and it hit me hard, just kind of like watching, you know, people that have been around the majority of our adult lifetimes wrestling, and then getting that kind of moment that you don't expect, right? You just kind of, you're all able to just take it in together, and it was really touching. Like, I don't, like, I'm kind of choking up, like, thinking about it right now. It was special. And I think everybody who was in the audience for it at that moment knew how special it was.
I think they overachieved both in the match, which was terrific, and both in the match and the emotional ceremony afterwards. I think both of them were just really, really well done, and no notes, to the point that I can't think of what they could have done better for her. And we learned.
Well, let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about the match and everything that they did. So they framed the match, ahead of time, as Sumie Sakai making one last effort to make sure that her friends Evil and Sho and Hiromu Takahashi, who she mentored through the time in Ring of Honor, to reconcile their friendship one last time. This was the last thing that she was going to do in wrestling. This is what she was going to do. And she came out to the House of Torture music, and a little confusing, no Evil. Like, you kind of knew immediately that there were shenanigans coming into this match. And so she came out, and then Sho came out with her, and then we're kind of looking around, and then we got the Yuka Sakazaki entrance. Then we get the Mayu Iwatani entrance. And the crowd's kind of buzzing. Like, this is the first time I've really seen, like, that energy for them in San Jose. And then you got Hiromu Takahashi. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, just for clarify everything in the background, Sumie Sakai worked for Ring of Honor and worked a lot in the United States over the course of her career. Both Sho and Yo, when they were the Tempura Boys, before they were Roppongi 3K, they came over to Ring of Honor, and so did Watanabe, is Evil, before he was Evil. And part of what she did with these guys is they would stay at her house. She would help them get around the United States, teach them how to kind of help them assimilate a little bit here. So she became an important part of the development of some key wrestlers from Japan, and that she made them feel more comfortable in the States, helped them through their excursion, and thus make it a better experience all around for them. So there is a lot of affection for Sumie on both sides of the ocean. Both the people that know her in the United States, no one has a bad things to say about her. And then there are a lot of wrestlers in Japan who feel like she went above and beyond for them to help them when they were in the U.S. So good feelings all around, even to the point where, Evil and Sho and House of Torture are willing to go over there and be part of her retirement. And she was going to find one last bit of good in them if she could.
Right. So what I will add to the energy of this, before I'm just going to hand it off to you to do the play-by-play of the match, because I swear to God, you probably have a better play-by-play than I ever was able to do. And the thing is, I'll probably go to Korakuen Hall next year for New Year Dash or something like that. In the entire time that I have been to New Japan shows, I've been going probably since 2018 to live shows, starting with Strong Style Evolved in Long Beach. And, I've gone all over the place. I went to Madison Square Garden for the Ring of Honor show there. If I ever felt like there was a match in the United States that felt like it was meant to take place in Korakuen Hall, this was that match. Like, this felt so authentically like a Japanese match in Japan in so many ways that, like, I think the entire crowd kind of felt that. Like, it wasn't like trying to play up to the United States crowd. It was unapologetically something that you would see in the upper, like, card of any show in Korakuen Hall. And that's what I think the crowd really got into it for. And so just take that into account when we're describing the details of this match.
Okay. So the match, like you mentioned, Evil was not there. It was Sumi and Sho out at first. And so when the match began, Hiromu, Mayu, and Yuka Sakazaki were in the ring. They were going to do a little pose for the photographers right there. And then Evil comes running out and attacks them all from behind. So this, once it got started, was about as good an example of a mixed tag as I've really seen. It was very creative. It was fun. Told the story of Sumi trying to find the good and evil in Sho, like I mentioned. They would cheat. She would try to stop them from cheating. She would encourage them to work as a team with her, but they're still snakes in the grass, I tell you. There were spots with and against. At one point, I think they gave Sumi a boot in the gut and threw her into one of the baby faces in the corner, for instance. But in the end, after a really entertaining match where people were hitting big moves, I think, what was it? Mayu hit a tope suicida, Yuka Sakazaki with a dive off the ropes onto the guys. And Sumi went out on her shield. She took the big move of each of her three opponents in the end, and that's what it took to finish her off. Afterwards, of course, was the real treat, where words from many people about what Sumi meant to them, and Sumi was very emotional. Most of the locker room, not named Evil or Sho, who kept in kayfabe with House of Torture, came back out to applaud her. Yeah, they just kind of
vanished.
They slunk out after losing.
The moment Evil took everything of Evil, he disappeared.
Yeah, that's true.
Never saw him again.
He took everything is evil from Hiromu, and they just kind of slid up the aisle and away while everybody's focus was on Sumi in the ring. So everybody else basically on the card came out and applauded her. Well, most of the people on the card came out, applauded Sumi, and again, a little ceremony there. The picture in the ring with most of the card right there was pretty fun to see as well. So overall, pretty emotional moment when you realize that there are a lot of people with a lot of good feelings toward this woman who's hanging it up after a very long and very successful career. And there's one. This is your picture yourself, Jeremy?
Yeah, this is where I was sitting for the entire show.
Very cool. Very cool.
I was gobsmacked at the dead center of the ring. Just yeah.
Yeah, and Flaming Shark is here too. Good to see you, Shark. He says, I was there for the randomness of the match, but it was way better than I could have imagined. It was so fun, especially being in the building for it. Oh, good. Shark was there too. House of Torture at its best, absolute best as well.
I was hoping I would run into him for them. It did not happen. It was just I got there. I went straight to my seat. I almost, there's no way. Unless he hit me up on Twitter, I was locked into just sitting there and not moving.
Nice that Yo was there for this one as well, because even if Sho was part of the match, and of course, the Sho and Yo, they were on excursion together.
The tag match.
Yeah,
I get it.
Terrific stuff. Yeah. So yeah, happy thing there. That was just a feel good moment in a business where you don't always get stuff like that. A lot of people don't get to pick how they go out. And
when Ring Announcer did that, and now Sumie Sakai went to retirement match, I think my jaw dropped because I can see the one of the ring boys come out with the big bouquet of flowers, and I was like, oh, that's why we only have 8 matches here. And so I was just like, I should have seen it coming. I wasn't prepared for it, but I think this was so emotional that all the matches after kind of suffered in terms of what the crowd was getting up for. They were getting up for it, but it was like you had sprinted before the end of the marathon, and now you're a little gassed trying to get to the end.
Bankin says, I still wonder who was under that mask.
Do you have any guesses, Steven?
What? Tell everybody what he's referring to.
Okay, so when Sumie Sakai was in her match, there was one individual, which appeared to be a young woman in almost a Starlight Kid mask getup. Would you say it was a full body costume with almost like a Starlight Kid kind of mask.
Yeah, it wasn't the Starlight Kid outfit, but it was inspired by, certainly.
Right. When you were watching Wrestle Kingdom, all the Stardom wrestlers were ringside for the match, the IWGP match and the other match, but the don't know who it was. It was clearly someone that was important and wanted to be there, but for whatever reason could not be identified on the screen. So make a conclusion of who that could be. It could be a Joshi wrestler from Japan. It could be someone from WWE. But who it could have been based off of that roster, I don't know. Would you say like Roxanne Perez or somebody like that?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Roxanne, who is about 3.5 feet tall, probably would have been noticeable in there. I think that was a little too tall for Roxy, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it is someone who definitely, like as Shark mentions, WWE was in San Jose on Monday, so it could have been someone from there. And Venkin mentions it might have been a Kamataichi mask. Okay, so that's one of Hiromu's gimmicks there. From, his excursion in CMLL. That's how it was referred to on Twitter. He saw.
We might find out honestly, one day who it is.
And they didn't on TV. They did not shoot any close-ups of it. You saw the person, but not close enough to say, "Oh yeah, that's that person." They were mostly wide shots, so you really didn't get a good look to be able to tell.
They were heavily de-emphasizing her without acknowledging that she didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like it looked just like she's there. We're moving on.
Yeah. So there you go. But good.
A top 10 moment in live events that I've ever, like wrestling events. I don't know if it's top 5, but I'm going to remember this for a long time. I will remember it like I will remember Bryan Danielson at WrestleMania 30 kind of thing. Like this was pretty unreal. Just, it was pretty special. And it also 1000% solidified my decision to go to Japan for Tanahashi retirement. Because if they're going to fucking do this for Sumie Sakai in San Jose, what the hell do you think that retirement for Tanahashi is going to be at the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah, and USVA guy was there. He says, "I will always remember it as well." So yeah, when wrestling
right after the show that a lot of people kind of stopped being where they were supposed to be during the show and just kind of milled over and kind of like no one was missing this in the show. Like this was how engrossed every single person in the audience was. Like if you were working, you weren't working for a few seconds. This was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Dunston's still hoping they pull off Nakamura for Tana to Wrestle Kingdom. The odds are against it, but nothing's impossible these days. Nothing is impossible these days.
You want to know something interesting? I don't think it means anything. I don't think they know each other very well. Sumie Sakai hugged every single person in the arena except for Walker Stewart.
Oh no!
Like it was just like thank you.
Yeah, because
they don't know each other very well. And
Veda got up from the broadcast position.
But they have. I'm sure
they've
had a lot of time together, and they probably, you know what I mean, like.
No, right there, USVA guy says the staff stopped working for this one. They just like now's the time to just all share this experience right there. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, Dunston. If you have some questions, go ahead and put them in there.
Or how do you want to do the rest of this recap?
Yeah. So and Dunston, if you got to go, no problem. We'll get to your questions. We're happy to do that a little later. Let's take it from the top.
I wasn't here for these matches, and I forgot to rewatch them. I'm very sorry.
And you're fired. That's it. That's the last.
The one I did go back to, and I watched the Sumie Sakai match live.
It's been a good run.
I wanted to see.
How dare you?
I was not a strong survivor this week.
Zane J and Viento. Now, Viento's a local guy, and so this is getting him a little bit of a bigger stage right here. And he's unpolished, but he's athletic, and he did some good stuff on there. Boston Crab finish for Zane J. A way to get the new strong survivor a win, get a local guy some spotlight. And then in commentary, they even said that Zane might go to the Noge Dojo again sometime. So Zane might be headed back to Japan. So we'll see if we see him over on the other side of the ocean.
He and Desperado got a little chatty on social media after this show. So there could be the link of what's going on there. Oh. Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Was anything in this match as cool as Zane J getting thrown across the ring later?
No, we'll get to that.
That's all I needed to know.
The best bump of the night went to Zane J, and it was not in this match. We will talk about it. But that was fantastic. Shark Jeremy commits the ultimate sin of not watching an NJPW Strong pre-show card.
I'm dying over here. I'm sorry. The campus burger that I had before I got there was fantastic and worth every penny.
Sam mentions that she keeps forgetting. Here's what Sam writes. I keep forgetting I missed the pre-show because I was finishing up collision coverage. Everybody has lives, I tell you. We all have lives. I turned it on during the opener. Totally understandable. Totally understandable. And the good news is, if you already have your NJPW World subscription, you can go back because these aren't pay-per-views much anymore. Remember, they used to charge $20 for these. Not so much. All right. After that, we had, I'm going to cough. Jeremy, tell us about this match.
Well, we had Matt Vandegrift and Fred Rosser in the Odd Couple match in which they weren't getting along going into the match. And shocker, they weren't getting along coming out of the match as Shane Haste and Bad Dude Teeth being one of my favorite wrestlers to wrestle in the New Japan domestic side, proceeded to capitalize and beat their asses for not being on the same page. I came in on the back half of this match as Matt Vandegrift, after accidentally taking a kick to the face, decided he wasn't about this match, and he left Fred Rosser for the Wolves. Have I got pretty much the nitty-gritty of that one?
No, that was pretty good. Yeah, I think that was done to set up a program with Rosser and Vandegrift. Of course, Rosser is one of the key trainers in the LA dojo. Haste and Tito, get a win, and that's always good for TMDK right there. We love Bad Dude Tito. And Zack Sabre Jr. on the microphone in, I believe it was Ottawa Gym at New Year's Dash, mentioned specifically they want to get Bad Dude Tito back in Japan as soon as possible. He said not just in backstage comments, said in front of the crowd. So I think we will see Tito back in Japan, and that's always good. So start of a program and a way to get TMDK a victory.
I don't think Vandegrift was out for the Sumie Sakai thing, so he might have been one of the only people that
I think Gabe was Gabe there.
No, Gabe.
Yeah, see, probably the real guys.
I don't even think Ishii was out there.
Yeah, the hardcore heels and things. So the main show opened with Gabe Kidd and Tomohiro Ishii, which seemed like an odd choice until you realized what they were doing and the reason why it was leading off. But this was Gabe Kidd against Tomohiro Ishii for the NJPW Strong Openweight title. A lot of chops, a lot of clotheslines, a lot of Bushido contests. Squaring off, you hit me, I hit you, you do a move, I'll do the same move. Ishii is boiling his act down for the USA a lot. He's lost some variety in his matches because he's just kind of playing the hits when he's in the USA. That back, you do a German suplex, I pop right up and no sell it, I hit a German suplex, then we both wobble and fall down. Then we'll do the thing where we square off in the middle of the ring and we chop each other for 5 minutes and things. And it's Ishii's matches were always like that, but he did other things. And it's funny how when Japanese wrestlers go to the United States, they figure out, okay, here are the 5 things I'm going to do now. And they're going to eat it up. And I'm not going to do the other stuff anymore. And that's what we're getting out of Ishii these days. So, but that being said, these two did this very well. And it went to a 30-minute time limit draw. They went all the way there. Of course, by the end of it, they were starting to hit big moves on each other and get the near falls and the very close kickouts and the brain busters and everything else. And then afterwards, he gets on the microphone. Kid does anyway. He's still a champion after the draw, and he says, "We need to have an Iron Man match," which makes no sense whatsoever, Jeremy. They just did 30 minutes without any falls. So now they're going to do an Iron Man match where the entire point is 30 minutes with the most falls you can score. We just had one where there weren't any. So how does stipulation doesn't make any sense, but nevertheless, that's what we're doing in Chicago, as it turns out. Windy City Riot will be Kid and Ishii again. But I mean, the good news is we're getting another Kid Ishii match, but New Japan has been struggling with making stipulations that make sense.
The logic through line of how you get from one match to the
next. Kind of swung and missed at that. But they just had no falls whatsoever. So now let's wrestle 30 minutes again and have as many falls as we can. That could be 0-0. They're going to do like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart where they don't trust each other to take one.
So this was an interesting match because Ishii came out and he was just like, fuck yeah, Ishii. Like, that was the vibe of the crowd when he came out. And Gabe Kim comes out, and he's booed. You want to see what his reaction is. Like...
Shark. I got to interrupt. Yeah, Flaming Shark has a great line. He says that's what half an hour worth of brain damage fighting Ishii will do to you. You just say, well, let's do it again. Yeah, that's true. That could be a sign of brain trauma right there. Let's wrestle Ishii some more. Go ahead.
So... Gabe Kidd's reaction when he came out was like booed, but it wasn't like out of the building, nor was there like a reaction of like, you're the fucking man after what you did with Kenny Omega like 6 days ago. You know, he was just back to being Gabe Kidd. And I thought that was weird, but then we got into it. Now, here's where I get to put one of my wrestling friends over, John LaRocca. He is a former booker of APW here in the Bay. And we were sitting watching the show, and we're about 7 or 8 minutes in. And he's like, I think they're going Broadway. And I'm like, nah, they can't go Broadway. He just like lost to Kenny Omega. He needed to win and it be definitive and all that. And I'm watching the match, and we're just kind of chatting. And it's about 17 minutes in. I'm like, fuck, they're going Broadway.
Oh yeah, and that's why it was on first, because it was not going to have a satisfactory finish. You don't want to end a show with a draw and then make sure everybody come back to a show that's not going to be here in San Jose. You know, that would have been a dud to the crowd to end the night with, but it was fine to start it.
It was a bold card lineup the way that they did it, but in hindsight it made perfect sense. But he called it like 7 or 8 minutes in. I'm watching it about 17 or 18 minutes, like, fuck, they're going Broadway. And then watching the rest of the match, knowing at that point what the end goal was. Like, they stretched everything out, and it was catnip for the crowd. Like, I think my buddy Aaron next to me counted 130 chops between the two, back and forth over the course of, like, he started at one point, so it was more than 130, but he got to 130 by the time they were done chopping each other for 30 minutes. It was just kind of like, this is what this match is with the German suplexes, and it wasn't anything other than you're going to stretch out 30 minutes and you're going to make people want to see 30 minutes more of this. The logic of an Iron Man match, I don't care, because let's be honest, we're all here for Gabe Kidd and Ishii for 30 more.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be good. It'll be entertaining. It'll be good. So anyway, that was how we started the night. So try to follow that, right? Well, you know, they actually came up with some stuff that did. Now, this first one, the NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team title match, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, defeated Roppongi Revice. That's Rocky Romero and Yo. 11 minutes, 21 seconds. Match was fine, but it was crisp and fast-paced. The West Coast Wrecking Crew continued. They're kind of over because the West Coast Wrecking Crew, they're in San Jose, California. They have a segment of the fans that really like them a lot. But they still play heel. They used a belt shot to win, hit him with the belt. You hear me, Triple H? I said belt. And then it established a title defense for him. And really, I mean, that's what, like you mentioned, Yo was there partially to say goodbye to Sumie.
Yeah, and I was like, why is he here?
Yeah, there you go. And so it was a way to put over the new champs. There's nothing wrong with that. And it was a perfectly good match to do so. And Yo and Rocky Romero are going into another title match at New Beginning. So they've got other things on the horizon, but just a solid win for Nelson and Isaacs. We like them.
In honor of our colleague, Jeff Hawkins, who is going through some stuff right now, and I just wanted to privately say, hey, man, we got you. This was a perfectly cromulent match.
Okay, I like it.
Perfectly fine.
Maria Graciela Saez says this was an excellent match. She really enjoyed it. Good, glad.
Yeah,
good.
It was good. I was
fun.
Already a little burnt from 30 minutes of Ishii and Gabe Kidd, and I may not have appreciated this as much. I will say this: the West Coast Wrecking Crew has done an excellent job being an anchor to the domestic New Japan product for the last 5 years. Through the pandemic and everything else, them getting these titles and more opportunities speaks to the hard work and dedication that they have put forth. And it is unfortunate that there are other individuals like Tom Lawler who are not able to reap those same benefits currently. But I am happy for their opportunities that they are getting now.
Now let's hope they can get them in World Tag League or something. They deserve that showcase.
Yeah.
After that, we had an 8-person tag team elimination match. This was the team of Empress, Nexus, Venus, Hanako, Maika, and Mina Shirakawa teaming up with Viva Van, who looks like is AEW bound. Jeremy, is that what we're hearing?
She has signed with AEW, yes, but I think she is still going to get some salt and pepper seasoning here, there, and everywhere.
And they faced Anna Jay, Azmi, Johnny Robbie, and Trish Adora. So a bit of a strange moment earlier in this one where Trish got kicked in the head early by Hanako and kind of froze up a little bit, just kind of fell over sideways, was laying on the mat, got hurt. And there was a little moment there where it looked like she was probably concussed or at least not with us totally during that time.
She also banged up her right knee.
Yeah, it was a rough night for Trish, but she took that one right in the mush and then just kind of went down. They kind of rolled her out of the ring, and she didn't do anything else until she barely got in, just enough to get thrown over the top and out. So this is the New Japan.
The EMTs come out?
I know they kept her off camera while she's laying outside the ring. And again, this was one of those New Japan elimination matches where pinfall, submission, or getting thrown over the top rope to the floor eliminates you. That's to keep too many people from doing too many jobs, So, but no, I didn't see that. So because they kept the camera off of Trish Adora, they kept it on hard camera with it panned slightly to the left to keep her off screen.
So from the ring side that I was, Trish Adora ended up coming out of the ring, I think after she took like the spinning heel kick from one of the people on the other side. I think it was Micah or Hanako that gave her a spinning heel kick. She went down, and then a few seconds later, she's against the ring side. She's propping her right knee up against the apron. Two EMTs with their bags come out with like one of the ring boys, and they are right by her. They never engage with her, but they are talking with each other. They're like trying to get a read of the situation. They end up determining that she's fine without actually like checking on her. And then they just leave. And I was like, that was the weirdest fucking thing. And the middle of the match fell apart as a result of this, but they ended up getting it back on track.
And Sam is telling us here that Trish was pulled from her upcoming DPW match for a medical issue and was replaced by Aminata. So let's hope that Trish is...
They did not engage with her at ringside in any way. They just kept the match. And I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was odd for a couple of reasons. When she got kicked in the head by Hanako, she kind of slumped over into the ropes. And then Hanako tried to keep working with her, and she was basically unresponsive. And then she kind of laid down. She didn't just pass out and fall down, but then she laid almost spread out, like flat on her back, looking up at the ceiling underneath the bottom rope in her corner, and stayed there and didn't budge. It was not
like the wind got knocked out of her and she just couldn't do anything.
I thought she just got knocked silly by the foot, whatever. And that was when they kind of got her out of the ring, and that's when we didn't see her for a while. The next time we saw her, she was getting eliminated. Yeah, and very quick. So that was about all that Trish could do in the match after that. So hopefully she's okay.
But she came back out for Sumie Sakai's match.
Yeah,
and she was okay. So it was like it was all precautionary. It's like we think we dodged a bullet, but we're going to get you out of this match.
Well, hopefully she wasn't knocked didn't take too much of a shot to the head there, but that looked a little concussion.
There's also a possibility of post-concussion syndromes. Like more stuff happened after, like something may have like flared up long after the show was over. But during the show, there was EMTs, there was a determination somehow, some way that she was able to at least get through the rest of this match without like the match just stopping or whatnot. But
so Johnny Robbie was the first person eliminated, and then Hanako after that. Anna Jay got Viva Van out of there and then Mina Shirakawa and Micah eliminated Trish when Trish was able to continue in the match. So that left us down to a few people. Mina Shirakawa and Azumi worked their way over the top rope and were fighting on the apron and eliminated each other, hit a big move, and they both fell out. That left Micah and Anna Jay. Micah ended up finishing it off and got the victory there. Overall, pretty entertaining match, though, aside from the accident with Trish. The rest of it was pretty good. And, Viva Van and Mina Shirakawa are quite the combination in the ring. They were entertaining and playing it up big time. Hanako and Micah's excellent, of course. So's Azumi. You can really see Anna Jay is feeling more comfortable in the ring with women stardom level after
the reps in New Japan are helping. Like the reps in Bushiroad are absolutely helping for them.
Yeah,
both
because
Anna Jay,
and Anna Jay was in the 5-star Grand Prix, so she had a handful of matches in Japan as part of the Grand Prix, and you can see that it has helped her. So Micah with the victory, though, she's one of the main event stars of Stardom, so they put her over here.
Look at that. 8 women and some type of New Japan women's roster.
Yeah, well, NJPW Strong does
without a Mercedes Moné in sight.
Does better than New Japan proper when it comes to this stuff. So after that, we had a world television title match with one of the great finishes of modern times. This was El Phantasmo and Jeff Cobb for Phantasmo's television title. And this one, Jeremy, the one thing about this one is I was very curious to see what they were going to do because I knew they weren't going to do another time limit draw. We'd already had one. So how were they going to get out of this one without beating either one? Well, they thought of something. And so what we had was a really fun match between these two. El Phantasmo actually got Cobb up on his shoulders for a version of a UFO. That was incredible. Cobb's a big man for him to be picking him up like that. ELP hit a dive off the post, basically. He was kind of standing on the ring post over the rail, covered a lot of ground right there. And but just an entertaining match between two guys who know how to do things like this. Cobb did his strongman spots. ELP was excellent at being the human lawn dart in some of those. While ELP knows exactly how to use the flying moves to try to hit high impact stuff on a bigger guy. I mean, both guys have spent most of their career, Cobb wrestling people a lot smaller than him, ELP wrestling people bigger than him. So they know.
Match made in heaven. They both knew the assignment.
They were both on the outside of the ring, and El Phantasmo super kicked Cobb, which put Cobb far away from the ring as the referee's count neared 20. And El Phantasmo turned to get into the ring. Zane J, who's one, of course, doing the young lion thing where he's around ringside and an attendant the rest of the match, was out there with him. Cobb saw that El Phantasmo was about to get into the ring, grabbed Zane J from outside of the ringside area, outside there. He's out in the crowd, and throws him at ELP. And Zane J just goes crashing into ELP before ELP can get back into the ring. They both splatter all over ringside, and it is a double count out. But I don't think I'm doing it justice until you see how far Jeff Cobb threw Zane J.
Well, I can kind of give you that perspective. Are you ready for this?
Please. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
this is another point in the match.
Okay. So this is not going to go well for the podcast, folks, but we'll do the best we can.
This is when ELP did the flying elbow off of the corner of the post for Jeff Cobb, and Zane J were on the outside of the ring. This was the beginning of the sequence that led to the count out. The air that ELP got was unreal. And just watching this and just watching the angle, the entire crowd's like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see later on in the photo where the cameraman is, from my perspective, that's approximately where ELP was on the ring apron, whereas Jeff Cobb and Zane J were in approximately the same place he was when he threw Zane J.
So it covers a good distance is what we're trying to say. That dive you mentioned,
10 feet.
He clears the rail to hit Cobb and Jay, and then Cobb throws Jay over the rail and a good distance past the ring, so to speak. He's going parallel to the ring, and it's about ELP is climbing in almost between the two turnbuckles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it.
He just doesn't quite make it.
Wiped out.
Yeah, but Jay is probably vaulted about 12 feet. And as Sam mentions, the ending of this match is one of the wildest things I've seen in a long time. It was awesome. It was creative.
In a lot of ways.
It was creative. It was unexpected. And it popped the hell out of me when I was watching it. I was like, oh, wow, look at that. That was a great way to do it.
It was as close to a version of the X-Men comic maneuver where Colossus throws Wolverine at the opponent. And it's called the Cannonball Special.
The Cannonball Special? I like it. So good stuff. Double count out. So they'll be doing that match again sometime, probably.
They already announced it, and I have the date for us later on in our list of match reviews.
Outstanding. After that, we had a 6-man tag. That was the Sumie Sakai match. We already talked about that quite a bit. So after seeing,
if you're joining us late, join us about 8 minutes into the show, and you can hear us talk about it for like 15 minutes.
So after we had gotten the time limit draw, the hard-hitting match with Kid and Ishii, we had a pretty good tag match for the openweight tag title. This double count out wild finish with Phantasmo and Cobb, which was already a good match. Then you had the emotion of the Sumie Sakai retirement match. I mean,
it was a lot, man.
This show's just terrific. And I just kept saying, boy, this is really overachieving. And we still had several good things to come, including a never open weight title match with Konosuke Takeshita and Kushida. And this was very, very good. Takeshita sold well for Kushida despite the size difference. Again, that comes from his time in DDT. A lot of the wrestlers in DDT are smaller. I was very close to Takeshita physically during, I was right by that aisle. He's a big dude. Like
Large.
He is. And Kushida is not. And so the size difference was really pronounced here, and they work fabulously well together. It reminds me a little bit, very different styles, mind you, but Bubba Ray Dudley was always one of the best at working with smaller guys just because he had to be, because that's all they had in ECW was like Bubba Ray and a bunch of small guys. So, he learned how to do it. And Takeshita and DDT had to learn with working with smaller guys. So then he gets into a small guy, the caliber of Kushida and the quality of workers, Kushida. And this was a really good never open weight title match. Of course, Takeshita wins. I mean, they're not going to make Kushida the never open weight champion there, but it was terrific. And you knew that the finish was going to be, but it was fun getting there.
This match, I say it a lot in a lot of these shows. They knew the assignment. They were going to have a hard time winning over the crowd or getting the crowd up to levels after what they just saw. The star power of Takeshita and the uniqueness of this match against Kushida did a lot to get the crowd back, but the crowd was pretty beat at this point. Like, as you were saying, like everything that we had gotten up to this point, people were doing the clapping, the 1, 2, 3s on the ring and the thank you Sumies and all that stuff. And it just maintained all this stuff. And it's just watching this match, like wasn't a bad match or anything, but I don't think that it got the reaction live that it really kind of deserved as a result of like being like the lamb to the slaughter in terms of like the audience fatigue. But, a lot of times they put women's matches and they put like matches that, that are meant to die instead of putting two really good guys in there that are going to be able to try and in some way win the crowd back. And they went with the bold path, and I applaud them for it.
Yeah, the New Japan does less of that, and setting up a match to fail like that than North America does. For some reason, that's a real WWE and sometimes AEW thing is to put something on an impossible position. But again, it's just the way the cards are structured. New Japan generally, not always, generally kind of has matches go in ascending order of importance. They didn't do it this time because they were going to do the draw in the first match. But for the most part, it's that. And rather than, okay, we need to put something here in between because these two matches are probably going to be great. And we need a palate cleanser, which no, you don't. If you watch New Japan long enough, you can have a good match after a good match. It's fine. WWE doesn't seem to think you can. We will have to do something in between or something. It really irks me, but it sets people up to fail, which I don't think is good.
Do you think Kushida needs a refresh?
I don't know. I think he's at a point now where we see him infrequently enough that I don't mind. I don't get tired of the guy. I really enjoy him, but and what are you going to do with him? Like,
he's wearing the Marty McFly Back to the Future gimmick, which is from a movie from 1985, in which the climax was 10 years ago now in 2015. So I'm just like, I get it, but there's a reality here that it may not be connecting with certain aspects of the New Japan audience at this point.
I don't know. Brad says the same thing here. He says, just something I thought of. It's a time for Kushida to maybe get a different gimmick other than Back to the Future.
Like, I was watching the show, Battle of the Bell, like, he's back. He's done the TNA thing.
If you have suggestions, send them in, I guess. I don't know what you would do.
Than anything else, I don't know. Like,
yeah, he's in his 40s. I feel retro too sometimes.
Yeah, we're all in our 40s, buddy. Look around.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not anymore, Jeremy. No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. Oh, you could have.
I crossed over,
and no one would have been the wife.
I crossed over. I'm half 100 now, so there you go.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I know. Sat there. Thank goodness I was in the Tokyo Dome. I didn't have to think about it. After that, we had.
Hi, Brad. It's nice to see you.
Yes, it is, Brad. Thank you. Non-title match here, but fantastic stuff. Zack Sabre Jr. and Hechisero in a special singles match, and it was a technical masterpiece, as you would expect. And Jeremy, I watched this thing, and these guys barely went off the ropes. It happened a couple of times. Barely bounced off the ropes. Not a lot of huge bumps. Not the the dives weren't there and things.
Kept it in
But
the middle of the ring.
State of the art mat work and technical wrestling for two of the very, very best. Zack ended up winning it with a jackknife bridge. Of course, they'd had the back and forth where Hechisero won in Mexico, Zack won in England, and now they have the rubber match here in San Jose. Zack gets the win, but just two of the very best doing what they do best, and absolute state of the art technical wrestling. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and Zack gets a victory here over Hechisero, and full respect shown to both men. And right now, the CMLL is on a high. New Japan seems to be heading in the correct direction, and I felt really good after watching these two.
They're so good. They're so good.
Yeah.
I'm watching Hechisero, and I saw him at the Fantastica Mania show, and he's just got the crowd in his hands, and the Long Beach show, and he's running up into the stands, and this crowd was like, bro, 500 people left after this match was over. They were there for Hechisero. Like, God bless Desperado Ishimori. They kept the crowd going, but like, after everything else, after they saw Hechisero, like, they were like, bro, we're good. I saw him start flying out of there, and I was like, oh, okay.
CMLL is hot right now. CMLL is hot.
And we're in San Jose, dude. Like,
Yeah,
I don't mean to tell you how popular Lucha Libre is here. It's fucking popular.
Yeah, no, it's the right place for something like this, isn't it?
Yes.
And Shark just mentioned. Oh, one more thing about Kushida. He said, "I've literally always hated that gimmick, but Kushida is good once the bell rings, honestly. And he's a veteran who has his gimmick. Probably not worth messing with it at this point. It's hard
not
to say.
having him join House of Torture or anything.
Yeah, no. But Shark also says guys like Hechisero and Zack can keep doing this for a while with those styles, and that's an important point, isn't it, Jeremy? These two could do this match 7 nights a week if it were back on the old territories schedule, and not get hurt. It's just a way to entertain the crowd without doing anything particularly dangerous. And it's not like they went in there just saying, okay, well, let's not get hurt. That's not what I'm saying. Is they just have the ability to make mat wrestling fascinating, and not everybody does. And
how long do you think Hechisero's been wrestling for?
God, I don't know. I honestly, I should have looked that up. I don't know how long his career's been. It's been a while.
2001.
Yeah, really? Has it been 24 years?
For 23 years.
He's been good a really long time.
Dude coming and making 2024 his bitch, and basically just coming out there and telling everyone in the world who he was, and becoming one of the most like rising stars in all of wrestling is a great story. In all honesty,
and he probably with Lucha Libre, he probably started when he was 16 or something like that. So he's probably around 40-ish or something like. Yeah, probably.
It's just I'm trying to find his age here, but they're not going to tell me his age. But the overview here is wild, man. Like just.
Yeah, and Shark says, as a resident Zack stan, you might have to fight. Sam for that one. She loves Zack too. As the resident Zack stan, getting to see him do a technical clinic with someone on or near his level was a privilege. Yeah, and that I agree. It's the same way I felt about the Bryan Danielson match, and I think about Hechisero. This is another example of it. How often can Zack go into a match where he doesn't have to carry it? Complete, you know what I mean? It's like how many people are on his level? Like, how often can Zack just go full throttle? Mm-hmm. I have a feeling most of the time he has to slow down. Like, okay, this is how we're going to do this. With Danielson, with Hechisero, two very different guys, but he can go in there and go, I can do anything I want. This guy's going to keep up with me and throw something at me that I'm not even necessarily prepared for and I can react to. I don't think he gets to go full throttle very often. I think he really enjoys it when he gets into in the ring with a guy like this that can do so.
Yeah, no, this was a fantastic match. I have to admit, like, I was fucking beat by this time. Like, I had worked all day. The show at this point, like, I was like, I could fall asleep in my chair right now, and this would be the greatest day ever. That was kind of like, if I was watching on my couch and watched this and then went to bed, I was like, this would be awesome. But
and Brad mentions the thing I love about these guys, they could have a match 100 times and you'd see 100 different matches.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, this was a show for hardcores, in a lot of ways. Like the New Japan crowd got rewarded for this show. If you were trying to come in and you weren't really following the New Japan product all that much, you got great matches, but I'm not sure that like some of this stuff would connect with you at that level.
Yeah, there you go. So that was that one. And then we ended with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match. El Desperado and Taiji Ishimori went about 20 minutes. These two are very, very smooth together. This was terrific stuff. I'm a big fan of Ishimori. I just think he is one of those guys who adapts his style to bring out the best of whatever his opponent does well, instead of just having and there's nothing wrong with Tomohiro Ishii having an Ishii match with everyone. There's nothing wrong with Shingo having a Shingo match with everyone. Mm-hmm. Ishimori's working style is different. He kind of adapts and brings out the best of whatever the other guy does. It's its own skill, and a separate one, and he's excellent at it. Desperado's fantastic, of course. They've worked well together every time they've been in the ring. They've never had a bad match. And with this one, it was just another one of those junior heavyweight main events that are fun to watch. A V driver, ace driver, and pinche loco at the end. And that gave Desperado a very decisive, definitive win, and a chance for him to talk on the microphone afterwards. Ishimori, I've said, talk about Kushida. And I don't necessarily disagree on Kushida. I just don't know what the new gimmick would be. But Ishimori, I feel like, needs a new coat of paint and should be on the babyface side of the ledger here more sooner rather than later. I mean, especially when he does the thing where he talks about, he always ends his promos with saying something about it's all due to God's grace. I mean, this is a babyface waiting to happen. And he is likable. And he was a babyface for a long time before he was in New Japan. So just a guy who I think that could get the fans on his side. I like this match a lot. I enjoyed seeing it. Good win for Desperado. And nothing wrong with establishing Despe as a solid champ again.
Did you notice that Ishimori can't see through that mask when he comes down the ring? He stumbled about 3 times. He was very careful coming down the steps. He tripped along the stairs that were propped up on my side of the ring. He just went right past. Shit. He crawled in the ring, and then he's holding the mask, and then he takes it off, and then he can see. So those LED lights are a little bit blinding. I don't think the crowd saw this as a main event caliber match. And
Ishimori hasn't been in the mix much, has he?
This is where I thought that it was meant for a New Japan hardcore crowd, but we didn't necessarily have a New Japan hardcore crowd. Okay. This was the main event of Dominion in 2024.
Right.
You know what I mean? This was the main event of one of their biggest shows of the year that did really good business, but people were out of there after the Zack Sabre Jr. and Hechisero match. And I do think that Desperado and Ishimori got some respect and won over the crowd, and training the crowd that a junior heavyweight match could be, an alternative. In my mind, I think it was supposed to be Doki and Ishimori, and Doki was gonna win that crowd a little bit more than Desperado. Desperado's not seen, even though there's the Mexico roots with him, he's not seen as a luchador to the California crowd. They see him as a New Japan wrestler. Even in the afterwards comments, there were people yelling Suzuki-gun at him when he was doing his post thing, and he's like, "Yeah, listen, Suzuki-gun's a thing. I love it, but I'm Hontai now." And it's you had people that just weren't up on the product, and they were making references that were outdated, and that's fine. You want them to come back into the product, and you want them to be reacclimated, and it's opportunities like this to do that. But it's also when you're in the thick of it and you see it, you're oh, there were some factors at play here that didn't quite work out. With that said, I thought the match was great. I think that they did win over a few people that were a little skeptical of whether these guys were deserving of the main event. But in hindsight, maybe a little bit different. If you had done a draw at the end of the night with Ishii and Gabe Kidd, you might have pissed a bunch of people off. So
it lands with a thud like that. And there's a long history of, I'm going back into history, but when you're going to do a disputed finish, and time limit draw, not necessarily a disputed finish, but if you're going to do one of those, there's frequently something after it. When a promotion does something like that, that's when they put a lights out match on, some big feud having a blow off lights out match. You put that on, and then you can do the draw for the title match, that type of thing. WWF, those Madison Square Garden shows, for many different reasons, the main event was often before intermission instead of dead last, and there were a couple of reasons for that, the way the WWF did things, but a lot of them were to set up rematches. So what they would do is you'd have the disputed finish, then you would have intermission, then a match or two, and the ring announcer would come on and just say, in the back, it has been signed for the next time we're here in this building. It's going to be them in a steel cage this time, since it spilled outside the ring or whatever. And so that's kind of what New Japan was going for here. We won't end it on kind of a dull note. And then we'll set it up. But think about how if Gabe Kidd came on there and just said, you and me in Chicago, not in San Jose, but we'll settle this someplace else where these people can't pay to see it. It just would have been kind of
not great.
Not great. Maybe Zack and Hechisero should have been last, but it's not a title match.
Right.
And New Japan is very careful.
What have you done the Sumie Sakai thing last?
Oh, well, I mean, knowing what we know now, but I don't think anybody knew.
I don't think people would stuck around for it.
Oh, shoot. Oh, boy. That's an interesting
You know what I mean?
Too.
Like, they would have been like, okay, I don't need to see this. And then I think they ran that. They didn't want to run that risk. So they put it in the middle of the show. So people are like, no, you're sticking around for this.
Plus again, that over delivered. I mean, I knew it was going to, I knew it was going to be good because of the people involved and things. I didn't know
over delivered is kind. It dropped with an anvil in the middle of the field and made a cataclysmic hole in the middle of the ground with kind of impact.
Just this big emotional moment and things in the middle of it. So hey, if this were easy, every wrestling card would be perfect, right? So
I can't wait for next year when we're going to do this all over again. I'm going to come back from the Tokyo Dome and go straight into a San Jose show. Exactly. I'm going to be that guy next year. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, well, SmackDown's coming here very soon. It's coming to Austin, and someone was like, "Do you want to go?" I'm just like, "No, no, I'll watch it on TV."
Here's the recency bias in my mind. Battle in the Valley has been right after Wrestle Kingdom for years, right? That's how my mind processed it. It was only this year and last year. The year before, it was in February after Elimination Chamber, and it went head-to-head with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. And then the one before that was actually 2 years, but it was 14 months beforehand, and it was in November, and it went head-to-head with the full year that Hangman Page won the title. Those are the only Battle in the Valleys that we've had. And in my mind, I thought they were always this week, but they haven't been. And it was just wild just having that.
The scheduling has been interesting. So, but Battle in the Valley is always one of the highlights of the new year. This was let's say this is one of the best NJPW strong shows, period, that they've done. Quality wise, it's just
worth
fantastic.
every penny to me.
Oh, certainly. And the best part is they're not doing the pay-per-view thing. You got this show as just part of your subscription.
Everything is just getting people in the door. Just watch our product right now. I like it.
Brad said, what do you think is happening with Evil? Oh, well, let's get to this because obviously a work, as Brad says, but where are they going with that? Oh, Evil has been very upset with the company lately after he lost to Tanahashi in the Dome. After he lost here, he says, I'm not going back. I'm not going. The hell with this. I'm done with this stuff. I'm not going back to New Japan. Some people are speculating that he's going to get a character revamp and come back as maybe a babyface run down the road or something, which I think could work, by the way, eventually. What I think this is simply more House of Torture BS, where he's saying, I'm not coming back until he shows up and interferes in a key moment in something. Yeah. So I think we'll probably see Evil at a time when he's promised he wouldn't be there, and he'll do something nasty to help Ren Narita or help somebody else in House of Torture. That's my guess, that he's not ready. Someday, though, I do think we'll get babyface Watanabe, and whether it'll be not Watanabe or he'll just say Evil is good. Evil, I don't know. Evil is good, but I do think there's a babyface running him down the road. I think this is him just being House of Torture-y and saying, I'm not coming, but you're never going to see me again until he pops up when we want to see him the least, to help a heel win.
I think it's just a breath of fresh air. It's like he was featured a lot in programming coming up to Wrestle Kingdom. It's like he had this match, kind of linked off into the thing. He's got a couple independent bookings, at least one for the middle of February.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's just back for the cup, and it's just kind of like he's not needed for Fantastica Mania. He's not needed for the New Beginnings tour. It's just kind of like let the dude chill, put him on ice, breath of fresh air. In all honesty, Tanahashi said he wants to face everybody on the roster in his final year of the retirement. Technically, Wrestle Kingdom 19 wasn't part of that year. I think we're probably going to run it back one more time with Tanahashi and Evil. I think the hair is probably going to be on the line in some way, shape, or form. And then after that, we can see where we go with House of Torture. But I think that's kind of what his role is kind of going to be, is just, they're going to emphasize other heels this year and emphasize other people. And his role is going to be middle of the road as he's doing, and he's doing good work there.
And he can do a thing like this where he takes some time and does other things and just says, I'm walking out and all this. And you can sell it because right now, no member of House of Torture is booked for the New Beginning in Osaka. Yeah. So they don't need the guys for preview tags on the way there. I mean, you can use them underneath and all that, but you don't need Evil for a little while. So for somebody that they do take care of, and certainly somebody that Tanahashi thinks a lot of in Watanabe, this is an opportunity for them to sell the idea that he's actually walked out of the company. Because
if he leaves and then he gets the heat of coming back, it's better than him being there all the time. Like, oh, Evil. Oh, right. Evil. Oh, Evil. Instead, he's gone. And when he comes back, there might be a little bit of heated interest between what's going on with him and Tanahashi as they finally conclude all of this stuff.
Yeah. So we do have a show this week coming up. Do we want to preview the Yuji Nagata Blue Justice?
But I forgot to grab the match card.
It's okay. And the reason I bring it up is because there's not a lot to this card. Really, it's one of those things where it's in Chiba, the Sakura Civic Gymnasium, which is the part. Chiba is very close to Tokyo. Kind of ends up included in the metropolitan area. But it's a little bit separate than Tokyo, but it's very close by. You can do a show in Chiba and be home at night, and but that's where Nagata is from, and he promotes in that area. So that's why they call it the Blue Justice show, and he's in the main event of it, and so he'll be there. But other than that, this is a house show lineup. It's all previews of New Beginning matches. And so we don't need to roll through all of them. In fact, just about all of these have that one guy in it that is going to take the fall, whether it's Geto or Jacob Austin Young or Bushi with LIJ or something like that in there. Hartley Jackson is there to take a fall in there. But all tags, no singles matches at all. The main event, though, is a 30-minute special 8-man tag, and it is the never openweight trios champions, Ole Bolton, Toru Yano, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Nagata. So he's teaming up with them on the babyface side. And here we are getting everyone in the House of Torture except for Evil. Kanemaru, Sho, Yujiro, and Ren Narita. Classic good guy versus bad guy. I have little doubt that the good guys will come through. You'll have the finish with House of Torture slinking off and Yuji Nagata standing triumphant. He might not get the pin, but he'll be at the end of the show standing tall, I'd imagine.
So this is Blue Justice 15, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Nice round number. You think Yuji Nagata is going to get to Blue Justice 20?
He might. If anyone can, it's him. He said in 2025, he's probably not going to have as many matches in New Japan as he has lately because he has plans on wrestling overseas. So he's not hanging it up or retiring. And he's not. Look, no one's going to announce a retirement until Tanahashi's done. Because you're just not going to go into that shadow, are you? Right. And he doesn't need to. I mean, he's still a good worker. Both he and Kojima can still wrestle. It's not like Tenzan with all the nerve damage where his body is just barely hanging on. But these are still good workers. And he wants to wrestle other places. He's got a lot of plans and wrestling for other promotions as well. And of course, he's one of the dads, right? And he and Kojima and Tenzan are raising up our pups. They're working in the Noge dojo, training these guys up. Yeah. And what was it? Daiki Nagai just mentioned they don't always do this in backstage comments that he is Nagata's attendant. He said that Nagata is his assignment is to help out Yuji Nagata. So that was the biggest heel of the Young Lions is helping out one of the Blue Justice himself. He's got to go do his laundry and get his do his bidding. So there you go. So I mean that's where Nagata is. I don't think he's ready to retire, but it's just, he just enjoys these promoting these shows in Chiba.
So New Japan announced a number of matches on the road to the New Beginning tour, main events for a couple of these shows. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't check the broadcast schedule, but it doesn't seem like. Do you know if we're getting live English commentary or if we are getting afterwards.
Okay, so here's what we get. Road to New Beginning. We have Japanese and English commentary for, I'm skipping ahead. January 2025. There's a few more. Road to New Beginning. What we're going to get is English on demand, to follow on demand. So not immediately. So if you're watching
remote,
like day of, it's going to be live in Japanese. So the Blue Justice show on Saturday, January 18th. And then Wednesday, the 22nd, Thursday, the 23rd in Korakuen Hall, live in Japanese, English on demand. And then Thursday, January 30th, same thing. Excuse me. And those are the shows we're going to be getting. There are going to be a few other shows in there that won't be on World. Back to Korakuen Hall, February 3rd and 4th. And those shows will have live Japanese and English commentary. So Walker will be back in February.
Cool. Good for him. He's been working really, really hard. And according to USVA Guy, he will be spending time with his significant other. Good for him. Make sure that you are spending time with your significant other. Everybody, wrestling is important, but family is also actually really important.
Yeah. So,
okay, so here are a couple of the matches that they announced here for you, Steven. Main event of the 22nd, El Desperado and Hiroki Goto are taking on Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. On January 23rd, we have Ryohei Oiwa's first singles main event match against Yoshihashi.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this feels like a way to put Oiwa over and get him going again. Again, Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty just wasn't his time. They had other stories to tell. And I think this is probably going to be a little bit of service in the in the mood of getting Oiwa ready for a New Japan Cup run. I'm not saying, it's not me predicting he's going to win it, but I don't think he's going out in the first round. And I think this is going to be one of those things where took the emphasis off of Oiwa for a little while to tell the story of Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji. I think this match is there to get us, hey, remember this guy? This is a future star as well.
Yeah, he's lost a couple singles matches for titles. This is let's heat him back up and see where we go with that. I'm very excited for this. A main event spot is a big deal. So good for him.
Always.
February 3rd, we have our title match.
Yeah, it's a NJPW World TV title. This will be the main event back at Korakuen. El Phantasmo and Jeff Cobb in a rematch from their San Jose match. I'd imagine we'll probably see a finish in this one either way. I guess they could do a time limit draw and do a third if they wanted to. These two are terrific together. It'll be a good match. Both of them are good television champions. I'm honestly, I care about the match, but I don't care who wins it. I'm going to enjoy it either way. Zero
complaints about the match. Zero complaints about who's in it. I think that New Japan is kind of cooking right now, especially since all of these matches are in service. And they sold out New Beginnings card.
By the way, USVA guy wants to clarify something. He said he's 6 minutes behind on the feed, and that was meant about Evil taking some time off to spend.
You know what? I'm happy for both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them are spending time with family. If you are not working, you're spending time with family.
Let's hope so. All right, so there you go. Now that's clarified.
And then on February 4th, we got Despy and Kosei Fujita for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
That should be an exciting one, too. Fujita moving up in the world now, just being in a singles main event and a title match. I don't feel like right now he needs to win it here, but a good showing will always help. And if they do decide to put it on him, I'm not going to complain about that either. But feels a little bit early for Fujita, especially as the junior tag champion.
Yeah. So there's one more match announced that's actually for the New Beginnings in Osaka card. And that is Bolton Oleg versus Konosuke Takeshita for the Never Openweight Championship.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's do it. I mean, no, this will be good. I mean, Takeshita has worked with guys less experienced and less athletic than him. And so even though Bolton is still learning his craft, Takeshita knows how to handle this. He's going to be fine. This is going to be exciting. They're going to come up with some cool stuff. I'm fired up. Anytime I get to see, I'm just happy to see Takeshita. He's a New Japan wrestler now as much as he is anybody else. I just love the fact that we're going to see more of him.
Do you want to run down the rest of the card real quick, or do you want to?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, we can do it real quick. I mean, obviously, we're going to be doing.
Yeah, we got our
more
full
previewing
preview.
as we
Maybe
get
we'll
there,
get somebody here to talk about the show with us. But right now, we're just going to run down what seems to be a card that everyone wants to spend money to see.
Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah, no kidding. It looks like it's may already be sold out.
It is.
Arena,
They keep
right now.
opening up additional seats, and it keeps selling out.
Fantastic. That's great news. So Edion Arena, that's not a small building. It's not Osaka Joe Hall, but it's not a small building. You'll recognize Edion Arena when you see it. It's the middle-sized building in Osaka there. But
It's not Osaka Joe Hall.
Osaka Joe Hall holds about 10,000. That's a little ambitious. Tanahashi facing the first man he ever faced in a new in his pro wrestling career. His very first one was against Shinya Makabe, now known as Togi Makabe, and they will meet again. As also on this tour, he's going to be wrestling each of the young lions. Tanahashi is doing his singles matches as he works his way through his retirement tour.
I feel like I'm going to be having Green Days. I hope you had the time of your life playing in the back of my head for this entire year of the Tanahashi retirement tour. You know, it's going to be like, there are going to be moments that are going to hit me like a ton of bricks. And I am ready to say I am unprepared, and you are all going to be riding this emotional journey with me. Thank you.
Fernando Zayas mentions that he thinks Takeshita is going to win that match with both.
Fernando,
Yeah, I think
I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, I agree. It's way too early to take anything off of Takeshita.
Never
right
say never, but I think Takeshita will keep the never title.
I think so too. Up next, Shingo Takagi and Drilla Maloney. All right, this will be interesting. I mean, it'll be a good match. I'd imagine Shingo's probably going to win this thing, and because he needs a rehab win after taking a couple of big losses. But Drilla Maloney will give him a good match for it.
How much longer is Drilla Maloney going to be a junior heavyweight?
Oh, he's not anymore. He announced that at New Year's Dash that he's a heavyweight.
Thank God. I missed that part because it was like, this dude.
This whole thing. All right. Boy. All right. I'm not going to go on a rant in an hour and 11 minutes into this whole thing.
Fine.
Like,
just go on a rant.
This guy's great. He should go move up to heavyweight. Hey, you're a great junior heavyweight. Stop doing what you're great at. That's a stupid way to look at things. Like all these people is like Desperado should be a heavyweight. Hiromu should be a heavyweight. Hiromu's not a heavyweight. He said he doesn't want to be a heavyweight. Hiromu should be a heavyweight. Why? He's a great junior heavyweight. Stop. Why is everybody's philosophy is you're great. Stop doing what you're great at and do something else. Who are you, Vince?
Fair enough.
Next. Thank you.
Save the rest of that rant for the official preview.
Shota Umino and Great Okan. So speaking of someone who could use a rehab win, Shota Umino facing Okan, and Okan, of course, they tore up Shota's belts, the ones the kids made for Shota.
Yeah.
Great Okan tore them into pieces. I don't know what their problem is, for goodness sakes, but they're wrestling Shota Umino here, and it's probably going to be the win Shota needs to get back on track.
Are you sure Shota's winning this?
I know you think Shota's going to lose every match he ever has, but yes, I think that.
But he keeps losing every match he has.
I'm going to be right someday. By the way, I'm just going to. I'm not saying we're not the most popular. Like there are other New Japan podcasts that do bigger numbers than us, and there are others that don't do as much as us. But very few are more right than we are. Doggone, our predictions on Wrestle Kingdom were killing it. By the way, we murdered it. We were I was going back and looking at it. I was like, boy, we really nailed this stuff. This card right there. Yeah, the gambler's fallacy. Exactly right, Flaming Shark. I am living and dying with the gambler's fallacy.
80% of the time, I'm right. 100% of the time.
Very good. Yeah. So all hail Great Okan. He and Shota. So you think they're going to tear Shota all the way down to the floor and just have him lose out?
It makes more sense to me than anything else that like you just kind of have to. Like there's no half measures with this dude. If they're all in on him, like they need. Yeah. I don't know. Great Okan kind of needs a rehabilitation win also, and so. There is an aspect of that, like he retired the KOPW, he didn't get the IWGP title match, he lost the tag titles and the vacancy. There are a number of things here that they like Great Okan a lot too. So I am no longer looking at Great Okan as just a guy to look past and a guy to get a win off of. That for me is one of those, like when I saw this and I saw Great Okan and I saw Shota Umino, I was like, that is an odd match, and I don't know who immediately wins that.
I still think it's going to be Shota, just because I think when Great Okan tore up the belts that the kids made for Shota, that's such a classic thing for a heel to do just before the babyface beats him. It's just like it's a perfect heat.
But it's Great Okada heel.
He is in this one. Yeah, he is in this.
I mean, in a way, there's like you don't admire.
He tore up a bunch of stuff made by little kids. Of course, he's a heel. And I think that's the perfect. It's the perfect thing to do. The perfect symbol for a heel to do just before he has to eat his words. That's what I just think. It's just such a traditional story.
There is an aspect of this that I'm looking at like, you are not a real champion, and I'm going to tell you that. And so, like, that is why him tearing up the belts, like, if you want to be a real champion, like, you have to win these matches. So,
and I think he's going to.
It's interesting.
And remember, it's long term. It's more important for New Japan to get Shota over than Okada.
Absolutely.
After that, Taichi and Sonata, long-awaited first singles match. I guess long-awaited. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's something that should have happened by now with the turn as it was. So we'll see if Taichi can get something out of Sonata, who has looked disinterested at best for quite a while now.
Yeah, so I feel like they missed their window. This should have been on Wrestle Kingdom. But I also don't know if the company has the confidence that these two are going to deliver a good match at a Wrestle Kingdom level show. Yeah. I hope that they are enthusiastic and able to put on a show that, impresses New Japan enough that they have confidence with these two guys in the singles again. But I think Sonata is a little bit of damaged goods right now. I think not getting the bicep repaired and putting his body through what it did a lot of damage to him. And he may need to go away at some point to get that all fixed. And Taichi, I've loved Taichi for the last few years, but I think, again, some damage on his part that he wasn't the wrestler that he is now back then, and he kind of missed the window of getting the push that he needed to get.
I think that's really right. Just for a kick, I went back and watched New Year's Dash in 2015. Just went back 10 years. Yeah. And I watched New Year's Day. This is what I was doing at 4:00 in the morning when I couldn't sleep, by the way. I watched a little bit of Stardom, and then I watched wrestling from 10 years ago. And there's Taichi with the bleach blonde hair and Suzuki-gun, and he's a junior at that point. And it's just not there. And he didn't figure things out until he was in his late 30s, almost 40 years old. Right. And then when he do, it's just, I agree with you completely. I think there's an alternate universe where we got a really good Taichi run. And I just think this universe just whiffed on it by a couple of years. It just took him too long to dial it in. And
the Venn diagram overlap did not overlap enough.
And getting the Miho Abe thing helped him tremendously because that was a great act. And then he started wrestling guys like Goto and Ishii, and it was the bruisers that brought out the best in him. Being a junior didn't help him. The other guys were too fast. They were a little bit too technical. And once he got up to heavyweight, he started wrestling Goto and Makabe and Ishii, and all of a sudden those matches stood out. You're like, oh wow, this is interesting. And then he figured it out, and he's 45. It's tough. It's difficult.
It's the reality.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Yo and Rocky Romero, they're going to challenge again for this time the junior tag team titles, the IWGP version. That's against Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita. Another match where you just have four guys that are excellent tag team wrestlers. So, I mean, this is going to be a heck of a good match. And I'd imagine the TMDK probably keeps it, but these titles bounce around a lot. There's no guarantee on anything here, but should be an entertaining match. Just, again, four guys that know how to put together an exciting tag match.
2 title matches for Kosei Fujita in 2 weeks, with the other IWGP junior heavy match the week before with Desperado. I kind of see, him not winning that one, but perhaps retaining there and just kind of keeping the playing field exactly as it is. I feel like Yo and Rocky Romero, they're just getting a couple reps in, a couple of thanks for all the hard work and everything they're doing. Yo's a little bit of a bizarre character for me. I can't quite get a read on him.
Bizarre? Bizarre?
Yeah. I just tried to be diplomatic about it.
He's living his own life, isn't he?
He is. He's living La Vida Loca in that ring, apparently. So, for better or for worse, I just, it's not my favorite thing. It's kind of taking away from the act, but I think these four in the ring are bound to, especially in a sold-out crowd, bound to really, really turn it on.
All right. Then we have Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, the IWGP Tag Team Champions, facing Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito. So could very well be a title switch here. This one, I'm still leaning towards it. I'm not all the way there 100%, but there we go with a chance to have Nick and Matt kind of transition the titles over to Hiromu and Naito. But it just depends on what they want to do with Matt and Nick. If they want to have them around a little more for big shows, that's about all you're going to get. They can't come over full time. But if you want to do that, the tag team titles are something they've done in the past. And when they've been on people from outside the company, it hasn't worked out too great. So I'm kind of hoping this is a switch to get them back in Japan and do something interesting with Naito. The tag team titles are a good way to use Tetsuya Naito right now. He and Hiromu can do 12-minute matches on the road where Naito works 4 minutes of them, and Hiromu does most of the time, does the selling. Hot tag to Naito. Naito hits his moves and gets out. That might be the best use of Tetsuya Naito as a draw, and the best use of him as an athlete right now with how broken down he is. It might be just the ticket to make him a tag team wrestler for a little while.
I've been going back and forth in my head whether this is going to be just a straight title change or if they're going to do a match and then try and goose the ticket sales even more for Windy City and run it back there one more time in Chicago and do that. So they'll go the main two places. It seems like they like to end stuff with New Japan and AEW chapter breaks around Chicago right before Double or Nothing, and it would not surprise me whatsoever if the Bucks held the titles until April.
Yeah, I'll caution that on one thing is that Naito has shown almost supreme disinterest in anything outside of Japan. His matches outside of Japan.
That doesn't mean that he's not going to do the match and wear it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was
that. That does not necessarily preclude the match from happening in Chicago, Steven.
not everyone cares about being a star in the States, and I think Tetsuya Naito is squarely in the camp of not giving a shite.
The thing about this is it extends the longevity of Naito's run. If he gets the title earlier, it means he has to defend the title more. If they stretch out the run of the Bucks and then Naito gets it in April, like you can have him as a tag champ going into the G1, and then the expectation of him delivering as one of the main guys is already like artificially depreciated.
Yeah, most of the time, Naito is in a trios match in a preview tag underneath. That's most of the time, and then he in the big shows he's in a big match. This would basically be the same thing, only he's a tag team champion, where it's still like 3 or 4 minutes, hit your big moves, let Hiromu do most of the work. So, and then we mentioned
that one.
Mentioned Bolton Oleg and Konosuke Takeshita for the never openweight title. Looking forward to it. And then we have Gabe Kidd challenging Yota Tsuji for the global heavyweight title. Pretty intriguing here. Both of these guys are coming out of pretty memorable Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasties, and are set up to have a big year. I'm a little surprised, Jeremy, that they are going to have one of these guys lose at New Beginning. And so as for which, I'm going to wait until we get closer before I really feel it, leaning towards Tsuji winning and retaining because of just where Kidd seems to be.
It would be pretty spicy if Finley's second in command won the title he lost.
Yes, and it would. And there is a story to be told there. There's also the story to be told of Tsuji establishing himself as a champion level guy. So there's there's also a story is does he lose this and Finlay kind of look a little sideways at him, which Gabe Kidd would not react well to. Also, there's ways they could go. I'm just surprised these guys aren't in with other guys they could beat.
They both already have title belts. I think this is just more predicating, a banger of a match rather than, upsetting the status quo before the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, and again, they've already advertised a strong openweight title match between Kidd and Ishii. I mean, does he need the global titles?
They're going fast and hard, but if you start thinking through some of this stuff, the logic of where they should be going kind of displays itself.
All right. Zack Sabre Jr. and Hiroki Goto for the World Heavyweight title. I mean, this is something that is apparently on the mind. Remember, tickets are sold on main events in Japan, and tickets are selling very well for this one, which I think means we're going to get a heavy pro Goto crowd in Osaka. I'm looking forward to that.
I have since removed my caveat of whether Goto could win this match. I think it's entirely possible that they put the belt on him as someone give him his flowers, give him his run, and then transitional champion to whoever's next. I think all of that is 1,000% on the table. I don't think it's the likeliest outcome. But with that said, these two are great opponents with each other. Hiroki Goto has done a hell of a job in 2024 putting New Japan on his back. I think the fans know it. I think New Japan knows it. And I think he is getting rewarded immensely. And the fact that tickets have sold out over and over and over again makes my heart so fucking happy for this dude.
Yeah, it's a really great story. So we're going to see that continue there. So that's our brief look at the new beginning in Osaka. When we come back next week, I got one other thing I want to do here before we go.
Sure.
But and we got to get to Dunstan's question. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, you got to show me some of that stuff from last week that we've.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, and so let's see what some of his questions. Though he has a few that. Do you think New Japan will finally have West Coast Wrecking Crew be in Japan? And I'm hoping so. I think he would. I think they would be great as a tag team.
They should. I doubt it.
Is it a bit telling we haven't seen Mikey Nichols in a while with Shane Hayes? Not really, because for a while Shane was gone and Mikey was there. They did that for a couple of months in the fall. So I'm not really reading too much into that. Will Gabe get kicked out of the War Dogs if he wins the global title? Interesting thought. And then it might be where they're going with that.
It'll be a slow burn if that's the case, and won't be right away.
Do I think New Japan's U.S. format needs another restructure? I don't think it's going okay. I mean, they're doing regular shows. They have good talent on them. I think it's fine. And he said, did it feel like the U.S. show was missing something? No, I thought this was one of the best
IWGP title match.
Yeah. On a strong show, I'm not holding my breath.
I mean,
they don't.
If
they don't do a whole.
If you're asking me,
they don't do a whole lot of those every year. So
no.
Do you for 2025 think the company needs a young generational feud to lean on for a year? Yeah, I think that's something that could help. And I think we're going to get some of that where the old guard makes a last stand against some of these guys, whether it's Yota Tsuji or Kid or Shota. I mean, we all think that part of Shota's story is eventually overcoming perhaps even Hiroshi Tanahashi at the very end. We all think that is coming, where the older guys are going to say, no, enough. We're staying on top, and the others take over. Yeah, I think that's coming. Let's see. And Flaming Shark just said this was also a reward for Goto not having a big Wrestle Kingdom match despite all the work he's done. Yeah, I mean, Wrestle Kingdom should be a difficult card to get on. And Goto, there just wasn't. They had everything they needed, or that they wanted anyway. They had the stories they were going to tell, and so this is a chance. Taichi, for instance, and Sonata, Goto getting a big match here. So I'm glad they're doing that. And Oiwa, for that matter, we mentioned he's getting a singles main event. Just not room for everybody. It's supposed to be a hard card to get on, isn't it? Though. So yeah.
Steven, show me your loot.
Well, I was holding up magazines doesn't do a whole lot for a podcast or a show here, but I wanted to talk about my trip to Tudo-Con, which is like a celebration of all things pro wrestling. It's a huge shop, and this is different than the Tokon shop, which is in Tokyo Dome City. That's the New Japan gift shop, and it's just all of their current T-shirts and scarves and all that kind of stuff. Tudo-Con is in a different part of town. It is a two-story when you first walk in, it's a bit of a museum. They have things like old title belts, a pair of giant Baba's boots, a jacket worn by Andre the Giant, replica title belts of the United National title, all this really interesting stuff. And you can spend a good half an hour just in the lobby of the place looking at the things in the display cases. Many of which are for sale for more money than I got, for sure. But they're available. Things like, Inoki's ring gear, for the love of God. Like who has this? And they also have a ton of DVDs, which are region encoded. So remember that if you bring them back here and they don't play. But just acres of them.
I still have my region-free DVD player.
So there you go. Thousands upon thousands of DVDs. They have magazines that go back to the 70s and 80s, Weekly Pro Wrestling, several others, a lot of programs. I bought a stack of programs, including from things like Champion Carnival Tour for All Japan, which, before I got into New Japan, All Japan was my favorite company, and I still kind of love them. But throughout the 80s and 90s is All Japan Wrestling. I thought was the best stuff in the world. And I bought a bunch of those. I got a bunch of programs for things like New Beginnings, 2004, like those kind of shows, Invasion Attack, which is a pay-per-view they don't have anymore from the aughts. And all this stuff is just right there. The old magazines, Jeremy, come out to about $2.50 US for like these magazines from like 30 years ago. And the place is just incredible. They have ring-worn gear. I came this close to buying a Bushi mask that he wore in Korakuen Hall in January of 2022 or something like that, but it was just a little pricey. They have some of Mystico's masks, which are gorgeous. You can buy those. Unfortunately, all the Jushin Thunder Liger stuff was gone. Probably those got bought up when he retired, I'd imagine. They had a lot of them when I was there in 2019, but I was looking for Desperado, no such luck. And then they had some, like I mentioned, Bushi, and they had some Tiger Mask stuff, but the original Tiger Mask Sayama stuff was just too expensive. It was thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh, of course.
And then Tiger Mask 4's stuff was there. Wasn't quite what I was looking for, but I did find some ticket stubs, and I wanted to show this. They had, this is one point. They have everything, all this memorabilia stuff that you can either look at or you can buy. And what I have here is I got a ticket stub from the 2008 Best of the Super Junior tournament.
There you go.
This is an actual ticket stub here, and all the guys on it there. You can see Ryusuke Taguchi back in the day, Tiger Mask, Liger, and a few others there that from the 2008 Super Juniors.
Send me a photo of these next time. I'll put them up, and
I'll try to do that. And then I bought one here from Noah's very first show. That is a ticket stub from the first ever Noah show. Yeah, I was very proud of that one. There's Mitsuharu Misawa, my all-time favorite. There, I bought this autograph. I'm going to do the Weatherman thing, but I bought an autograph of that is Stan Hansen and Giant Baba. That was autographed for the tag team tournament.
Is it a reprint or an actual like?
That is an autograph. That was written by that ink was put there by Hansen and Baba. So, and of course, Baba's like an all-time hero. I bought this. I got this one from a card in. Let me look at the year 1974. So this is August 8th, 1974.
Oh,
Baba,
I can see that clear as day from here. That's amazing.
And the Destroyer and all that stuff. So, and then finally one from 1979. This is the Beauty Pair from All Japan Women.
Nice.
So Jackie Sato and Ueno right there. They have a whole bunch of things. I mentioned ring-worn gear, but they also have a lot of autographed pictures. There's one of Hazuki. But they have people that come through and will autograph a bunch of photographs and things. They have all of those as well. So if you're ever in Tokyo, I just go to the Tokan shop, the New Japan store. It's a lot of fun, but also make a trip up there, and you can really do a deep dive and allow yourself a couple of hours because just let yourself get lost in it because there's really incredible historical stuff there. So I had a great time. Spent more than I should have. I don't care. I don't regret a thing. And I'll probably go back in May and
once in a lifetime, right? Twice in a lifetime, maybe 3 times in a lifetime. You never know.
Yeah, Anyway, just want to share that with
Japan podcast. Who's shocked that you spent on Japanese pro wrestling? Weird.
Yeah. And I have something for you, Jeremy. It's in the mail. I put it in the mail, so that'll be.
Yep.
It'll be on the way to you.
I sent a fever-ridden text back to you about my address in the middle of the night, either last night or the night before. I vaguely remember this now. Yeah.
So that's on its way to you right there. So
hey, so if you're still with us and willing to do the crowns up for the United Empire, can you also throw us a thumbs up here on the show and the like and subscribe and all that jazz, because we like talking about it, but we want more people to talk about New Japan with us. And in order to do so, we need to spread the word. So that's all I'm asking for.
I appreciate that. Some kind words from Flaming Shark there at the end. I do appreciate him. And it's something that I do hope you experience it, Jeremy, the celebration of this art form that is Wrestle Kingdom Week. You will be among people who love it as much as you do. And aside from this, where we get to come on here with Colin, with Shark, with Venkin, with Brad, with Sam, everybody here. I mean, goodness, USVA guy, Fernando, Maria Graciela. we're so grateful we get a chance to do this. And one of the things that's the most fun about doing this show is that we get to talk to other people who love it as much as we do. And when do you really get to do that in real life? And
I get to do it a lot, but not as much as other people.
Right. But when you go to Wrestle Kingdom weekend, Jeremy, if you're able to go this year, you're going to find just thousands of very friendly people and everybody just so excited to talk about it and share their experiences with you. It's a really special thing. And, wrestling is its own unique blend of sports and performance and theater. And there's nothing else like it. And the fans, there's nothing else like the fans. But when we all get a chance to sit and talk about what we love, it's a very heartening experience to do, and I hope you get it. So anyway, I'm grateful for all of you guys that I can share this with you on this show. It's an important part of my life.
I love doing the show with you too, Steven.
Yeah, man. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you get out of here?
Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, I just want to say thank you for everybody here on the podcast and on YouTube joining us live. We will be back next week. We're going to talk Blue Justice and any other news that pops up. There's going to be a bunch of it. So with that in mind, for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. We'll talk to you again real soon.